What's going on, guys? It's Cameron from Tinker's Musings here. Today we're going to cover an interesting topic on how you can optimize your Chia plotting setup if you have a multi-socket system. We're just going to cover how to change your plotting process. We won't go into like all the setup details. You can see that in the previous video of mine. But without further ado, let's get started. Okay. So I'm running Proxmox 7 and I have a Madmax container, Linux container that I've set up. And with that, I've already downloaded the required materials for compiling and building running Madmax. So we're just going to jump into this today, and I'm going to show you the script that I put together and how it optimizes your resources and gives you the best performance that you can get on your system with Madmax. I'm in the build directory where I've already built Madmax, and I have this script in here that I call Numa Max. And it's a bash shell script. In this script, we have your standard variables for your pull contract, your farmer key, and then I've also set up an SSD temporary directory, and then where we're going to put the plots when we're done. This can be a local path or it can be a network path. You just need to set it up properly in your FS tab. If you want, we can cover that in a future video. Next, we mount 2 RAM disks, and each of these RAM disks, as recommended, is 110 gigabytes, or in this case, gigabytes. I think you can get away with less, but I've actually had, over the last couple days testing this, a couple of crashes, so we're going to stay with the recommended 110. You need a large amount of RAM to make this happen. So make sure you have at least 256 gigs on your server. And yeah, each of these RAM disks are initialized on the individual CPUs in your server. And you could, in theory, if you have a 4 CPU server, a quad socket, set up 4 RAM disks. You would need obviously 4 times 120 gigabytes, probably about 512 gigabytes. But if you have that set up, I would be curious to know if you get better times, better throughput than, say, BladeBit. But the next step in the script is to delete the old logs. This is where we're actually going to be writing the progress for plots, because we start up screen sessions for each of these and we can't see them unless we attach to them. So it's pretty much your standard Chia plot command with Madmax, but there's a little bit more involved. We actually have this Numa control command that binds the CPU for the process and where the memory will be located. So this means that you're going to have your CPU allocated to a single Madmax process. That's really actually pretty cool. This starts off 2 of these and staggers them by 15 minutes. This means that you should be hitting around the high 80s, low 90s, maybe mid 90s if optimized just right with the stagger. You'll see that CPU spike at about the 15-minute point, and that's when you're going to be hitting your full utilization. The difference between specifying Numa nodes for these plot processes is that you can actually over provision the threads. I've only given like 32 threads to this container, but you can always give it a little bit more, just push it further, and Proxmox will handle the scheduling of everything. So yeah, you just have 2 processes going on each physical CPU, and if all goes well, you'll be getting pretty substantial improvement. And we'll talk about benchmarks here in a little bit. Alright, so I'll make this script available on GitHub as a gist, and you can make your tweaks to make it work for you. Please do not use my keys. Use your own keys. It's not going to hurt you, but it won't necessarily benefit you. You'll just be plotting my own plots. So be sure to use your keys and not mine. Okay. So we'll just run a quick df-h. Make sure that everything is mounted up correctly. I'm actually plotting to a remote directory currently, but you can plot to anything that is locally accessible through a physical mount that you have defined in your FS tab. Now, we don't have any RAM disks loaded up yet. That's expected. If we run the Numa Max Script, you may get that from time to time. I'll tweak this so that we'll check to see if the file exists before we try to remove it. Now, if we do df-h, we should see these two RAM disks were initialized, and it's already plotting on the first RAM disk. Pretty cool. If we want to take a look at the process itself and the logs, we need to then tail these logs. Okay, so this process should take between 40 to 45 minutes for this one plot, and then we're going to be staggered about 15 minutes. Well, staggered 15 minutes. We'll be staggered 15 minutes for the next plot, and so both of these should complete within the hour. And that will give you your split plotting, and we'll come back at the end, and then we'll do analysis on some benchmarks. Okay, one thing I wanted to show you is I have this new UPS and power delivery unit, and this is running on 240 volts. I'll be doing a more in-depth video about this in the near future, but when I'm plotting with both my Ryzen 3900X machine and this HP DL380p G8, plus everything else in my rack, I'm only drawing 6.7 amps. And to get the wattage, we can look at the PDU, and this is about 1.31 kilowatts. That's not too bad. Before, I was running on 120 volts. I was getting between 1 kilowatt to 1.2 kilowatts, but the amperage was getting close to the maximum amps that a socket can handle on a 15 amp circuit. So that's what prompted the 240 volt upgrade and all this network gear with APC, Schneider Electric, just to make sure that I've got plenty of capacity. And as a brief rundown, I have pretty much 3,500 watts available to me now, which is roughly 2 to 3 times as much as my current load. So I have lots of room for expansion, and I'm hoping to get into that pretty soon. Another cool thing is that even with this load, with the existing batteries in the UPS, these are brand new batteries, it should run me for about 25 minutes. I wouldn't want to run all the 25 minutes down. I need to actually make a video about how to set this up, where you shut everything down in the rack, and maybe within the last 10 minutes, just to be safe. Some things take a little longer to shut down, but yeah, that's going to be coming up in a video soon too. Alright, well, let's go back and check on our plot. Okay, we've made it to the next table in phase 1, and after 15 minutes, phase 1 of plot 2 will start. and we can see that the CPU usage is roughly 50%, give or take a few percentage. After that 15 minutes, we'll see the spike where it pretty much doubles the CPU usage. Alright, we're going to let this hang here for a little bit and then we'll come back. Okay, so plot 2 has started on the second RAM disk, the second CPU. If we go over to the CPU usage, we can see that it is in the low 90s. This means that we're getting much more efficient plotting than before with just a single process that spans available threads. So you'll see anything between like the high 80s, low 90s, maybe mid 90s, depending on where things are with both plot processes. But this is exciting. We should be able to see both plots complete within the first hour that we started. And then we will do some benchmark comparisons and talk about some numbers. When we go back to the logs, we'll see that we're now getting logs from both processes. So pay attention to who the log belongs to so you can track the state that we're in, or track the current place that we're in for each plot. It looks like we're still in phase 1 for the first plot. We're pretty close to hitting phase 2, and phase 1 of the second plot is still going on, and then we'll be about 15 minutes apart in completion. We'll come back once we are finished, and I will talk about numbers. One more thing I wanted to demonstrate, because we can, is the difference in power usage. So previously it was 6.7 amps. And with both CPUs going, we're now at 6.8 amps. Not a significant change. This is before the second plot kicked off, so if we restart the page, then we'll see that the kilowatts has jumped up a little bit, but still not bad. It's underneath 1.5 kilowatts. And yeah, that's very sustainable. We'll be able to keep this going for the remainder of the plots and get everything plotted up that much faster. Okay, we'll be back in a little bit. Alright, so the first plot on CPU 1, or actually CPU 0, has completed, and it finished in 49 minutes. You'll see probably times between as low as like 43 minutes up to this 49 minutes. But the good news is that the second plot should finish pretty close to this same time frame. So in about 10 to 15 minutes we should see the other plot finish. We see that it's just finishing phase 2, and phase 3 and 4 are going to be pretty quick. And then where these are starting to sync up is when we copy the plot out to the final destination. And we'll come back after plot 2 is finished, and we'll do a comparison. Alright, so plot 2 finished in 47.6421 minutes. We'll take the two plot times, we average them out, and if we take that and divide by 2, because we did these parallel with a slight offset, that gets us a 24 minute plot. That's not bad. One thing that you'll note is if you let this run for an extended period of time, your plot times will change over time. So you may actually see some better times as time progresses because you're going to have these kind of fall into place. Both of these plots are still copying out to their destinations, but once the first plot is finished, then we will start a new plot. And same thing with the second plot. The important part with the dual plotting is that you do want to wait for copy because you only have so much RAM available and you only have so much SSD space available. So you need to make sure that you're waiting for the plot to finish. There is a chance that if your destination drive is SSDs, then you don't necessarily have to wait for it to finish because it would be pretty quick. But I'm actually writing to a hard drive array on a remote server. So your mileage may vary, and it looks like we just finished copying, so the next plot on processor 0 is starting now. If you would like a more in-depth analysis on these plot times, please let me know and we can create a video in the near future where we've actually got some spreadsheets that we can go over the numbers. But I've seen anywhere between 42 minutes a plot, mind you, in parallel, up to what we just saw, 49 minutes. That's probably the longest I've seen. But even then, it's faster than a single process for Madmax. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. That covers the topic of Numa locked Madmax plotting. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below. And please hit that like and subscribe, as well as the bell icon, and then you can be notified of the next video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks, guys.